This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin our number 2 VSiN By The Books. I'm Dave Ross here, downtown Las Vegas at Circa Sports. Our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to have Mike Palm join us this hour in studio here at Circa. Be a lot of fun to catch up with Mike as well. So I know you're already ready for Palm's Pressing 3. That'll be coming later on this hour as well. But it's all about the draft today. We're very excited for it here at the network. We've got a special tonight. We've got you covered. If you want to live bet it here, all you have to do is tune into VSiN, and you're going to be locked and loaded all day. But, Jensen, there's other fish to fry. We'll begin to do that right now with our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
We mentioned it in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night. Maybe a shocker to some, because Dallas, we knew they were down a couple of their best players to begin the series against Colorado. Yet they take a 2-1 series lead after getting an overtime win last night, 2-1. Lower scoring game than maybe we anticipated last night. It spoiled the return of their captain there for the Avs and Gabriel Landeskog. He hadn't played in over 1,000 days, but he was back. But yet it's Dallas that skates away with that 2-1 overtime win. It does feel like this has got that nip-tuck, possibly a 7-game series back in Dallas if that were to be the case. What do you make of that, and that Dallas is able to survive so far in this first round without a couple of their key cogs in the machine?
Yeah, first of all, Nip Tuck, great analogy to one of the great series. If you've never watched that, highlight that one for you. Good one. Do not watch in public. Okay, so Jake Ottinger, right? This, and I can't wait to get Mike Palm's take on Jake Ottinger. We have always seen, at least in recent memory, you get hot goaltending, you can go a long way. And I think you and I surmised when we looked at the futures board, the way that Dallas ended the regular season, and even game one. Right, we're like, oh boy, where's the bottom for this club? It felt like Game 7 had to be Game 2. They make it stand up. Now you go on the road, and to win it the way they did it, I think is the most important part here, Dave, because they did fall behind 1-0 after one. Did not get the equalizer until you got to the third period. But these kind of games are ones that just unite and galvanize a group. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, Dallas is like, I don't even remember blowing a 3-goal lead in the last 60 seconds of a regular season game. That is so far from their minds right now because of the recency of how they've played. And again, when you get a hot netminder, you can feel like you are just gangbusters. I think that's where the Stars are mentally right now.
They have now flipped back to the faves in this series against Colorado, minus $1.50, and Colorado is now plus $1.30. If you look into the series prices, all knotted up at one. And the reason why this one stands out so much in the West is because a lot of our handicappers have kind of led us to believe that the winner of this series really is in play to win the West or the Stanley Cup playoff in its entirety here. So I think that's the belief that if Dallas can somehow stave off Colorado in the first round, get their full complement of guys back in round 2 and beyond, they're going to be a really tough out. And conversely, if Colorado can get through this, they're going to be a really tough out. I thought Edmonton would be a tougher out. They got just whoosh by the Kings last night, 6-2. LA is now minus 450 in this series over Edmonton. Now, here's where I would concern people in the betting market. It's plus 340 on Edmonton to still win this series. And again, you held serve, which is great for LA to do that at home. So Edmonton, you do this equation, ultimately would have to win one in LA. Would you look to that series price now with still the greatest offense in the NHL, defensively challenged, another game where you're giving up 6 goals and you lose 6-2? Could I entice you at that plus 340 money here on Edmonton, or do you think they really are dead in the water here?
If you think Edmonton's alive, bypass the series price and go for either to win the West price or a cup price, because it just makes more sense from an ability to monetize. Think about where you are in a potential second round matchup between the Knights and the Wild, right? You would think that Edmonton would definitely be a favorite over the Wild, and be intriguing to see what bookmakers would make the series price against VGK, with VGK being the higher seed. But to me, it makes more sense. You would jump on the bigger price, and it's going to be inflated because of them being down 2-0. I throw back to you on this idea. If And again, Jonathan Davis told us if there was going to be a team to come out of the West that might be at a higher price, and I have them at 22-1 to win it all in the LA Kings. Where do you feel your bread is buttered if it ends up being the Kings that run it into the West Finals? The Stars hold serve here because remember, no one's talking about Winnipeg.
No,
Winnipeg was unbelievable in the regular season. A comfortable 2-0 lead against the Blues right now. Are we forgetting them? Are we forgetting the Jets because of they've made it stand up so far in the regular season and thus far in the postseason?
They've got a 2-0 lead as well. They are the small favorites now to win the West at plus 350. The Kings are 4-1 now with that 2-0 lead. Dallas is plus 450. With that 2-1 lead there. VGK, as you mentioned, plus 475. They're all of a sudden in a little bit of hot water there, knotted up at 1. Colorado now down 2-1 or plus 550. And then the long shots, I mentioned it. Edmonton is now 15-1 to win the West. I like where your head's at there.
Yeah.
That even though they're down 0-2, they still, they hold serve on home ice. Where does that number go? If they can hold serve in Edmonton against the Kings there. So 15-1 there. And the Blues now, the extreme long shot at 45-1. Very quickly to wrap up the hockey talk. Capitals get a win last night. You were on the puck line. You get that done in less than a second to go to get that 3-1 win there. And they are still, though, even with that 2-0 lead, plus 425 to win the East. Carolina, with their 2-0 lead, they're plus 240. Maple Leafs, they're up 2-0, they're plus 350. And the Panthers, 1-0 up on Tampa, they're plus 370. It shows me that in the marketplace, even with the Caps being up 2-0, it's almost how they've gotten it done. And not that there's any pause or concern, but they don't look to them, at least in the odds market, as strongly as they might Carolina and or Toronto. Yeah,
well said. I'd be very intrigued if, let's say that the Hurricanes end up making it a clean sweep or a gentleman's sweep there at 4-1. Almost feel, even though the Hurricanes are seated lower, you'd make them a short favorite in a series matchup against the Capitals, depending on how the Capitals get through against the Canadiens.
Fascinating as we get deeper and deeper into round one here of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Other highlights and headlines to get to. Football fans, I know maybe the season begins tonight for you in the NFL draft, but on the field, it will begin in the Hall of Fame game in July. We got a July game, baby. July 31st, Lions and Chargers going to face off. Campbell against Harbaugh. Here's what's so funny about that is normally you look at this game and you go, well, nobody's going to play. Right. Nobody's going to take it too seriously. It's Campbell and Harbaugh. If there's ever two coaches, Jensen, that take everything maybe too seriously, it might be these guys.
It used to be, right, the auto bets for any unders in football games, Army, Navy, and the Hall of Fame game. But you're right. Now all of a sudden we got to handicap it a little differently just because of the head coaches that are going to match up in Canton.
Look, it's going to be exciting. We all can't wait. For me, it's like I watch normally the first series to see if anybody is going to play that I'd want to see, and then after that, I'm probably back to baseball, whatever we got going on that day on July 31st, a little bit early there. But again, I do think for these coaches in particular, maybe not other coaches, they will use it with that extra game as an extra more time to evaluate what they have, right? So knowing Campbell and knowing Harbs, they're going to use it to actually extract some value from it, right?
Absolutely. I again, the Canton is just a 20-minute drive from our house here in Broadview Heights in Northeast Ohio. So it's always fun to kind of go down and see the pomp and circumstance, the fan bases that come in. The one year we had Buffalo in the Hall of Fame game. Oh my God. I mean, we already know the stories about them tailgating. Dear God, Dave. I mean, that's a life experience. If you've never tailgated with Buffalo Bill fans, that's a life experience. I mean, I came back from that and I'm like, I need to lay down. Like, I don't know how you people do this, especially in the frigid conditions when it gets to November and December.
Well, we're going to talk about the Bills in the next segment, too, to break down their draft. Obviously, they're going to be drafting here at 30th in the first round. And my dad's a big Bills guy. And, he always said, in order to be indoctrinated as a Bills fan, you got to do the Bills Mafia. And mom's not letting dad at this age go through a table. That's just not going to happen. Like, we just can't do that. I don't know how that tradition got started for Bills Mafia, but it's like, if you go there to Orchard Park and you go watch a game and you want to be in Bills Mafia, it's part of that ritual, right? It's part of the indoctrination that they do.
It's amazing. It won't happen in Cleveland, but, that said, boy, Can't wait. Can't wait to start handicapping some football with you. But week 0 in a Hall of Fame game, man. Let's go. Can't wait to get it here.
Very quickly, let's get to some NBA that we're going to have tonight. And again, the 3 games on the docket last night. All the home teams won last night. So we had the Celtics winning, we had the Cavs winning, and the Rockets winning. But the Rockets are the only team that covered. And then we had 2 overs that hit, depending on the number. The under might have snuck in there for you for the Rockets and the Warriors. Any takeaways from last night's NBA action?
Yeah, again, holding serve, right? Cleveland does what they need to do. The Celtics may not have been the cleanest game, but Jaylen Brown, again, we talk about depth and guys being able to stand up. Jaylen Brown was big. Yeoman's work here for Paolo Banchero, trying to keep the Magic somewhat relevant throughout this 32 points for him. I do have one play in pocket already for tonight's game. I did take the under 213 for the Nuggets and the Clippers. Do feel that we could get a little bit more defense there tonight late in LA, but anxious to see also, remember, Jamal Murray has been dealing with the illness, right? Boy, he looked way under the weather in game 2, was able to kind of gut it out there. Anxious to see what he looks like in the early moments here in game 3.
Yeah, pivotal games there for the Nuggets and Clips, all knotted up at 1. And for the Knicks and Pistons, 1 all there. Grizzlies and Thunder, yes, they're still playing that series. Does not feel like it might be in doubt. OKC, by the way, 9.5-point favorites on the road. NFL Draft, of course, is tonight. It's one of the few betting events where research really beats the reputation, and that's where our pros here at VSiN can really help you cash in. So when you become a VSiN Pro subscriber, you get access to everything we do all the way through August 1st. It's just $59. Full summer of sharp betting insights at half the regular price. Daily best bets, including sharp insights into those props tonight for the NFL Draft. Sign up now, VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here on the Draft Day edition of this show. Cannot wait for tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Have you already got it? Everything, the food. Have you figured out the food? What are you going to do today for Draft Day cuisine?
Yeah, I'm going to pull probably a steak or 2 out, I think. Just get some of the homemade fixins. I watched Draft Day earlier this week. It's still mind-boggling how the script writers put that together. Like none of it's real. None of it would happen. But seeing Arian Foster in there is always fun. The actors back then, we are such a Draft Day franchise. It's just sickening. So, hey, Browns print Super Bowl tickets after Travis Hunter at 2. We shall see.
All I know is every time I see Draft Day, I go, I can't believe Elliot Ness is playing a GM. It's his greatest role, people, Untouchables. The Bills have sadly been touchable in the postseason because they can't quite seem to get over the hump and get to that Super Bowl. It is still fascinating that you look at the Bills and you go back to the Marv Levy days and you go to 4 Super Bowls in a row and you still don't have a Super Bowl championship. So not many franchises, and I know they're waiting. Bills Mafia, Orchard Park, Western New York, upstate New York, what do you even want to say? They can't wait to finally get there. Will this be the year? Win total sitting at 11.5. Look at this. They are not only odds on, minus 270 to win the East. By the way, I played them last year. You get them at plus $2. Remember, because everybody's on Aaron Rodgers, everybody's on the Dolphins. Now they're minus 270. What a difference a year makes. Look, when you get as close as they got again, that's why you're drafting 30th, right? Not 31, not 32, because that would be in the Super Bowl. So they're so close. You got 2 picks in round 2. You don't have a third rounder, but you got 2 in the 4th. You got 3 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, nary a pick in the 7th. What are the needs for Josh Allen, the reigning defending MVP, and for Sean McDermott in your eyes?
Okay, so the secondary obviously would be a place to start, and we know the receiving core could be lengthened for sure. And so ideally, right here at the end of round 1, they should have a couple of options. This is honestly where I hope my Shavon Ravel Jr. To be drafted in the first round pick comes in at plus $1.70. He would fit. You think about where the secondary overall, particularly the cornerback room, is for the Bills. I think that's obviously a spot you circle. Wide receiver, we've talked about it now a couple of times as far as looking at certain pieces or certain guys that would make sense. If Emeka Egbuka goes, A Luther Burden would be amazing. Imagine Luther Burden, that offense with with Josh Allen. Anyone is going to be amazing. But just thinking about where another receiver to go along with Khalil Shakir, and knowing that you could have both sides because they're going to run the ball. We know what they're predicated on: Josh Allen, James Cook. But to me, if it were me, knowing again, here's what you got to do to not only get back to the AFC title game, but what they hope to get through. Beef up that secondary a little bit, allow your offense to be on the field a lot more. So it wouldn't shock me if that cornerback area is one they address.
Again, looking at this roster, and again, this is not a surprise out there when you look at how good the roster is, the roster construction, right? Because they drafted Ray Davis pretty high to back up James Cook. You got a really good third down back and a guy like Ty Johnson, right? Khalil Shakir, as you mentioned, Curtis Samuel. Keon Coleman, I don't want to say they've missed on him out of Florida State yet, but you did go get a Joshua Palmer. You got a KJ Hamler there. So you have some depth. But I'm with you at 7-1, and that's where it is right now, to draft a receiver. Because I think you're good with Kincaid and Knox at tight end. Offensive line is pretty good. Of course, they could use some help there. But offensive line is 7-1. Wide receiver is 7-1 to be the first pick that they draft here, whatever their first pick, if they stay right there at 30. D-line edge is even money. Cornerback is 2-1. Safety is plus 550. But I'm with you on that receiver, and especially Ibuka coming out of Ohio State. It feels like you could slot a couple teams late in the first round if you want to, quote-unquote, reach for him at the end of the first round. I don't know how big of a reach it would actually be. And then defensively, well, okay, you basically trade out Von Miller, who's going to go to the Hall of Fame, but we saw Von was not the same guy, and you go get a Joey Bosa. So I get it that it's even money for that position, but it's not like they haven't addressed that position already in free agency. I don't think it's a bad play for a little pizza money play at 7-1 on wide receiver there.
So right now, okay, do you feel you can go to battle with Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Joshua Palmer? Again, I'm with you. This is why you kind of, I know they have Laviska Shenault there too. But
it does feel like an upgrade, right? If you got a young...
And especially the way that, God, man, and I had Dalton Kincaid on a fantasy team. Dawson, it was like the tight ends disappeared for them in spots. And so just kind of seeing how the AFC is going to be, with Baltimore and Kansas City still and some of the other challengers. Hell, think about a shootout you got to try and win if Cincinnati gets to the title game against Buffalo. And just depending on, it probably doesn't depend on where that game is played, but either way, I'm with you. I think it's now being able to give yourself that room to extend the field and downfield. And yeah, I think a receiver makes a lot of sense for them. And depending on who is still available when they if they do pick at 30 and who is available for them.
And the other part of that equation is you kind of workshop if you're looking for a longer number. Safety is the third betting choice at plus 550. You mentioned Joey B. If you're going up against the Bengals and you try to stop them. Look, the safety position, Damar Hamlin's a great story. We all know that. Everybody it's still shocking that he's even able to play football. That's beautiful in and of itself. Taylor Rapp is a talented guy, but he's hurt a lot. He gets hurt a lot. And at the end of the year, if you've got Rapp and Hamlin as your starting safeties, you could probably do better there. So if they went that way at plus 550 at safety, I don't think that'd be the worst way to go. And again, we talk about positional scarcity and kind of when you draft guys. It feels like safety's not normally the type of position that you want to go high in the draft, unless it's like just a Sean Taylor from yesteryear where you go, man, this guy he's top 5. You got to take him. So back end of the first round would make some sense there, right? If they didn't go receiver and the edge rushers, the rush on those guys are getting, what are you getting? The 7th or 8th best guy at that position versus the first best safety. I think you can make a case there if you're Buffalo to look at that position too.
Yeah, in a perfect world, Malachi Starks from Georgia, I know we've talked about him a little bit this week, would be amazing. I don't know if he's there for them to take. You think Minnesota is also a team that could use some secondary help, and especially in the safety position. So anxious to see what that looks like. And, even from yesterday, man, we think about this back end, from 26 where the Rams are. We know that's been a hotly debated place, potentially a trade up back into the first round. Do the Rams pick there? And what happens at the Ravens and the Lions at 27 and 28. A lot of intrigue, my man, and also thinking where some current players. This is another part that I hope people remember too. There are a lot of current players. In particular, receiver. I was just thinking about George Pickens, from the Steelers, has been mentioned as a potential trade chip for the Steelers. Like, there's other guys that we will see surface later today, and as these conversations evolve, current guys on rosters that are trade chips to get improved draft positioning for teams that want to try and make multiple first-round picks.
Now, look, I'm not running to the window to lay $1.40 for the over 11.5, but I understand it. I understand why that number is sitting where it is at 11.5, because you look at the division. And do you want to lay 270 that they win the East this year when they were plus $2 a year ago? Same quarterback, same MVP caliber was a year ago that he is the MVP now. But it's the rest of the division, Jensen, that I look at and I go, who's the second betting choice in the East? It's the Patriots. It's Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. That's how far the Jets will figure out what it looks like with Aaron Glenn in year one. We'll figure out what it looks like with Mike McDaniels in the Dolphins. But that's where we are in this division. I mean, what a difference a year makes from an odds perspective. I can understand 270. The only fear there is Josh Allen. If he's healthy for 17, they're winning the division.
Boy, this feels like a division part. When we come out and we eventually see, once the draft's done and we see adjusted win totals and the division prices, feels the only way you can play Buffalo is parlay them to win the East, with another division winner. That's the only way you can do it right now.
It's too high. It's, the rent's too damn high. 270, it's too high for me to lay it with the Bills. But I understand the numbers, like a Dodgers in the NL West in baseball. You understand why those numbers are sitting where they are. Check out Sharp Plays. If you haven't done so already, at sharpplays.com. So, again, a lot of the betting world, it's a lot of noise out there. We understand that. They're going to be sharp. They're not parrots out there. Sharp Plays is a source that a lot of people are actually echoing. They've been around since 2011. When they jump on a side, the line only reacts. So insider info, powerful AI tools. You're not guessing. You're getting ahead. Sign up for free betting reports, real-time alerts, and next-level intel via email and or on X. So don't take our word for it. Check out the receipts. They got full betting logs. They're live and on the site. So all you got to do is go to sharpplays.com. They are respected, watched, and feared. That's sharpplays.com. When we come back, Mike Palm's going to join us in studio. We'll see what the books and how they're handling things out here for the NFL draft. And by the way, shocker, if you're in Vegas, those numbers are already off the board. We'll discuss with Mike and get ready for Palm's Pressing 3. That is next year on VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back as we continue the draft day edition of VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. I'm here at Circa Sports, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Jensen back home in Cleveland, Ohio. We always love on a Thursday to catch up with the great Mike Palm. You can follow him on X as I do at Mike Palm Circa. Joins us now in studio on the Progressive Guest Line. Mike, great to have you back in studio. I know you can't see it at home, America, but because you're good, there it is. Is this
a violation?
Is this the first coffee that you've had? Because I know you did Lent.
No, I had a coffee Easter morning.
Easter morning, you fired up.
Technically, I could have. Technically, I really could have on Good Friday. Lent really ends on Holy Thursday, but I fast all day on Good Friday. I don't eat anything, just water. So I did on Easter morning. Steve Cohen actually asked me, how did that first coffee taste? I said, even sweeter than it actually could. But the thing is, you see the coffee, you know he is risen, right? So that's a good thing.
That's a good way.
The stone is rolled away and the coffee is back.
Fantastic.
Yes, indeed. Beautiful, Mikey. What's the final tally? Because I know that you were tracking, the weight and everything. Obviously, not having the coffee, any booze or anything like. What was the final statistic where you ended up?
I lost 17 pounds.
Wow!
In a little over 40 days, and now I will happily get back to playing weight.
It's like weigh-ins for UFC fighters. You got to make the weight and then you can put it back on. Let's get to the draft here, Mike, because I know obviously behind us here at Circa, numbers are off the board. This, again, for people that come out here, I know the draft isn't here this year, but I still get texts from friends, different parts of the country, like, hey, do you know why these came off the board? And I'm like, This is what the books do, man. That this is not one that they like to book. They tell you forefront, we're going to take these down. States you have to in Nevada take them down 24 hours early. What did you have? 21 player props that were available?
21. We had 21. Now here we had to. It varies by state to state. Colorado, you could actually leave them up right till the draft starts. We choose for simplicity's reasons. That's what we say. Just to take them down 24 hours in all states. In Kentucky, we couldn't book it. Each state is different. They didn't let you book the draft. So we pull them down 24 hours ahead of time. So they're up for a week, right? We posted them last Thursday, take them down this Wednesday. And I will say the handle was down a lot.
Really?
Significantly. More than half down. This was less than half the right of last year. But I think the reason for that is the uncertainty of this draft. And maybe that is because of the talent level, where people aren't, taking 4 or 5 bites at an apple because they're very sure about, and they're willing to lay those big numbers because of a certainty of players. So that could be part of it. But it was down more than I thought. I thought it would be down 30, 40%, but it was down more than 50%.
Wow.
Our handle. It could be different for different books, but.
Yeah, and that's unique because it was out, obviously here in Ohio, we have different offerings, and I believe we get the offers all the way up, or at least the markets all the way up until 8 o'clock Eastern time. Is there one prop out here, whether it be position, whether it be round positioning, that has really shocked you, like whether it be a meteoric rise, whether it be a fall? I know a lot's been made, obviously, of Shedeur, and that number just cascading after 24 hours, Ashton Jonty. Any positional prop or particular player that has really stuck out to you up until today?
We never moved the number on Genty. I thought Genty was very fascinating because I thought the Bears would have a shot at him. He visited Dallas, and when Dallas has somebody come and visit, they're going to take them. But and then I said, well, they won't because the Bears are going to take him at 10. But wait, they're going to get. But wait, I mean, I've seen people even betting him at 3rd, right, and taking a shot at him at 3rd. We never moved him off the 6.5. But it was actually favored that he would go 7th or later when we opened this. It was minus 140, I think plus 115, plus 120, under 6.5. I mean, it closed like almost $4 to the under 6.5. And we need him to go 7th or later. So we need him to get past the Raiders. But that's, when I look at it, there's no one player of the 21 that really hurts us. Like there's a bunch of guys we lose like $5,000 to, but that's it. There's no $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 loser like we've had in the last couple of years. But Genty's one of them that's up there a little bit. Barron going over either at 18 or later is a loser. We need him to go 17 or earlier. Just take some of the bigger decisions. Graham, we need him to go over 5.5. They bet that's probably our biggest decision. Wow. They bet him under 5.5 pretty heavy. So we need over 5.5. But there's just a bunch of guys in that range. I think if everything went horrible for us, the worst it could go, we'll lose less than 30,000, right? Which is a good year.
I was going to say,
the draft. And if everything goes right, we win like 2,000. I mean, that's the stuff that booking the draft.
You guys aren't upset that the volume's down, right? That this
Not
is
really.
That's fine
it's
by
an
you.
amenity. We're offering it as it's like a buffet, right? It's a loss leader.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that. It's like a buffet. Nobody makes money unless it's Bacchanal, and you got to pay $400 when you go at Friday night now. I remember taking my wife's family we go on Mother's Day, and I'd say, oh, God, I'd come away here $800. Now it'd be $3,000 if I took
Whoa.
them. I mean, but you have to price it so ridiculously high. It's like jewelry. I mean, the markup.
I want to talk more about Genty, though, because it is the fascinating mover, at least we think is the mover. And I do wonder, because I did think he could be in play at Dallas at 12 2 weeks ago. And now it feels like there's no shot. You look at the odds board here. Yep. Dallas is now minus 250 to draft a wide receiver at that spot at 12. At 3, if Dave Gettleman's not making this draft, I don't know that the Giants are going to take a running back after the sake. By the way, it cost Gettleman his job essentially for Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. He did get one of those guys right.
Yeah.
Right?
He did.
In hindsight.
Absolutely.
So, is it out of the realm of possibility that Genty is worth a 3rd overall pick?
He's got to be really special, doesn't he? To be worth the 3rd over. But the problem is all these teams that are up there that need a quarterback don't want to draft any of these quarterbacks at that spot, right? They all want to trade down. That's what makes this really difficult, because most of these they want to get out of there. I mean, is Cam Ward a slam dunk? No.
Well, he's
going
going
first.
one. Yeah.
He's going one, but is he a slam dunk?
No.
And I mean, Shedeur, why is Jalen Milroe invited to the draft? Did anybody watch the bowl game against Michigan? Don't tell me it was the cleats, Jensen. I can't take it to say, was he had the wrong cleats on? Come on, enough already. But Genty, we got to know Genty because of going to Boise and our association with them and all things. And he's a really special kid. Could I have ever? I mean, and he was the favorite at like week 8 to win the Heisman, and I had the 100-to-1 Heisman ticket on him. But he couldn't overcome two-way player with all the highlights. But to think, would you think he's going to go top 3 in the draft? I would have never thought that in my wildest. The Falcons took a little criticism for drafting Bijan where they did. Yep. In retrospect, are they happy with it?
Probably.
I think so. But they just haven't put it together around him. But I think they have to be happy with where they took him.
Well, Jensen, that's a conversation we've had a little bit when you look at Jahmyr Gibbs in the Lions when they traded up to 12. And they got maligned for that, right?
Yeah.
But if you go back now, kind of short history, to Barkley and to Gibbs and to Bijan, and we'll see if it's true with Ashton, these picks have worked out. So I know you've got a really good ticket on the under on Genty too, right? So, I think you're in a good spot historically if we're looking at the recent move-ups to get guys at running back. They've all worked out.
Yeah, that one, I think for me, what I'm excited on, the ones that I hope could get home, the Amari and Hampton one, I think is very interesting. I've got him under 19.5 at plus 145. I just think when we look at once Genty goes, where is the cascade, depending on how high he goes and what are teams willing to do. The Matthew Golden one we've talked about a lot. I have him under 17.5. When does that run of receivers start? Calvin Banks Jr. under 13.5. I paid a little bit, got $1.50 for him. And I told you, Travion Henderson at basically even money to be first rounder, and Siobhan Ravel, who we just talked about potentially to Buffalo. Mikey, I want to ask you too, just after the draft, I think you might have told us last week, is there a win total you're anticipating you guys will move quickly because of potential, draft implications, or do you guys feel pretty good here in a couple of days once you open those win totals back up?
No, I think we feel pretty good. I don't know the scenario that's necessarily going to change anything with this. I mean, maybe you're going to move. I don't know that any number moves a half a win unless there's to your point, Dave, there's a move where a veteran moves.
Yes.
On draft day. I think that's the only thing that would really move a number. Otherwise, maybe just some juice if we think a player's a really good fit somewhere. But I think these guys are pretty secure with there's not going to be a quarterback in this class that's going to change a number on a team.
I wonder if that one guy, that one veteran that could change a number is Kirk Cousins. If he were to be moved, right, and to a team right now that looks like maybe it's a super low win total. I don't know if it's Cleveland, 4.5 is what I've seen out there. But if that type of move, could Kirk, let's just say theoretically went to Cleveland, could that number go, say, from 4.5 to 5.5?
I think you got a point there, and then you'd have to think of what his health is, right? I mean, then it comes after the year's over.
That's supposed to be the good year.
I was never healthy, right? I mean, now we learn. Well, we kind of knew that watching you play. But, I mean, he came out and said, I never really felt right. We were hearing that from our sources throughout the year, and I mentioned it a couple times on these programs here on VSiN. That's a good point because it would move a regular season win total. Maybe not necessarily future odds to win a Super Bowl or anything like that, but it could move a regular season win total, maybe a full number.
Get ready for Kirk in Cleveland, Jensen.
Oh, God.
Just throwing that out there.
I'm wondering, we talk about Cam Ward not being a slam dunk. Wait till the hype around Arch Manning and Drew Aller.
Oh, my God.
Next year.
By the way, you want to bet not just
Drew Aller. Why are they throwing off the goal line? Go to overtime. Small game James.
Firstbet.com. It's the #1 stbet.com. You can bet on the ponies. It doesn't have to just be the NFL draft. You use the promo code VSiN200. You're going to get a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Do not miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. Palms Pressing 3 is next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. It is VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. And again, we do not play favorites. We don't do the rating system. But I do believe it's one of the highest rated segments that we do each and every week, Jensen Lewis. Buckle up, because it's time for Palms Pressing 3.
Pressing? Yes, I say it's pressing.
Press 1, press 2,
This is Palms Pressing 3.
My mother told me never to answer a question with a question.
Sir, my client has answered every question asked by this committee with the utmost sincerity.
All right, Jensen, we are just a few days away from being out of silly season, as many professional bettors call it, the NFL draft. As a former professional athlete who actually went through this process twice, first getting drafted out of Cincinnati Anderson in the 33rd round by the Cleveland Indians. Jensen eschewed that and chose to go to Vanderbilt and ride David Price's coattails. Then got drafted by those same Cleveland Indians again in the 3rd round. I'd like you to walk us through the process, Jensen. How involved were you personally? Did you have a sense that the Indians were going to select you again? Was your agent transparent with you that the 3rd round was the expectation of when you could expect a phone call from the selecting team? Or were there moments where you felt misled, perhaps even instances of misinformation being circulated? And did the team that ultimately drafted you, the Indians, have any prior contact with you before making that selection? Finally, Jensen, in this very compound question, help us get inside the mindset of those athletes who are waiting to hear their name called tonight and what emotions, thoughts, and uncertainties they are facing in this pivotal moment in their careers.
So high school, for me, I actually had my full ride secured from Vanderbilt already. So I sent a letter to all 30 general managers before the draft in high school that if they were going to take me, it would take at least $1 million signing bonus to have me forego my college education. So I was a projected top 5 round out of high school. That got me to day 2, 33rd round, because they were not willing to give me $1 million there at age 18. But 3 years later, and by the way, David Price was a freshman when I was a junior, so he rode my coattails, just saying. I actually catapulted myself. And actually, the fun part about my high school one was I got to do a private workout for the Boston Red Sox under the lights at Fenway Park when one Terry Francona was managing them. So imagine a 17-year-old kid throwing a bullpen on the mound at Fenway Park with Theo Epstein and Terry Francona behind the cage watching you. No pressure, youngster. So 3 years later, go to the 102nd overall pick. I originally thought, because the Red Sox had 6 picks in the first couple of rounds that year, my thought process and what my agent had told me, or my advisor at that point, had said, Boston's probably a destination. They need pitching. Kept going. And those were the days, Mikey, when you had to call into a conference call. Wasn't on TV. That's how you found out. And so 2nd round passes, not picked. I left my house and walked outside. I was so distraught.
Ooh.
And Mark Shapiro of the Cleveland Indians at that point called me a couple picks before the Indians selected and said, "Hey, just want you to know you're going to be an Indian." And I was so shocked because it was my childhood dream team. My entire family is from Medina, born and raised. And so imagine that dream coming true. And then 2 years later, you're taking the mound at Jacobs Field. So a whirlwind process, to say the least. I don't wish it on anyone in the moment because there's so much emotion to go through. But once it's done, man alive, all that blood, sweat, and tears, a dream coming true. No question about it.
All I will say is that was great question and answer, but I think we have to rename the segment Palms Pressing 6. There were at least 3 additional in there.
No, it's an encompassing
Compound
topic.
question for a Vanderbilt guy. We can handle it.
And I had a follow-up about Mahoning Valley, but anyhow, okay. Question 2. Corbin Burns. Jensen starts tonight for the D-backs against the D-Rays in Phoenix. He's a $1.30 favorite, despite having an ERA of 4.64 and a WHIP of 1.41 and yet to record a win. If you look at every pitching metric, and Marquis did a great job on Friday afternoon of displaying all of these during the Cubs-Diamondbacks game, in every single statistical category, he has had a steep decline since his 2022 season with the Brewers. Jensen, what do you see are the reasons for this regression, and how likely is it that Burns will be able to turn it around?
Mikey, I know you're a huge fan of the Daily Diamond. We featured Corbin Burns in No Ray of Hope for Tampa, one of the worst road teams. Actually, I think he'll get a pretty good backing here today. It wouldn't shock me if that money line price goes up a little bit. I do lean his outs recorded today and the D-backs team total over. As far as Corbin Burnes overall, this we found a lot with guys that are coming home, if you will. It was a big reason why in free agency, the Diamondbacks were able to ascend to be a top option, because that's where Corbin Burnes makes his home. So I think it's kind of getting through the routine of being there. Sometimes it takes a little bit, but as far as the stuff, that's what I think I'll probably evaluate maybe once we get to the halfway point in May. I want guys to kind of have a little bit of runway, and I understand what Marquis was doing, like looking at some of those metrics, even as far as last year and the year before. So I'm not going to pass judgment just yet, because he's been pretty serviceable, and I know that's underwhelming for what you paid him. But I think he'll get back there, and I think he's one of those freight trains. Once he gets moving and once that momentum's there, I think he'll be in a great spot.
$1.35 today, Faves over Drew Rasmussen and the Rays, plus $1.14 in the comeback here in Tampa. Very quickly, is that why you think Baltimore just said, fine, we're not going to give this guy the big payday to stay in Charm City?
Well, he didn't live up to what he did in Milwaukee. I mean, this guy's finished in the top 10 in the Cy Young 6 times in his career already, right? So serviceable is a bit of a disappointment. Quick follow-up here. How about Bailey Ober? Now, I told you. What happened? He's lost 4 miles an hour off his fast. He's now become a changeup pitcher. He allowed 3 hits to this Cuero kid, all on changeups the other night. What's going on with Bailey Ober?
Yeah, he's now officially a fake ace for you. That's for sure.
He's a fake 4.
Mikey, again, in all due respect to our producer, Brandon Valesky is a huge Twins fan, but holy hell, I didn't see this coming. I can tell you that. I mean, that was a guy that would come into Cleveland, book him for at least 6 innings and 1 run or none. He was dominant. I don't have an answer for Bailey Ober right now.
A fake 4.
Well,
that's where Bailey Ober is.
That's tough.
I mean, where are you going to put Woods Richardson? Okay, let's finish with question 3, Dave. Before the season, there was a very interesting prop, Jensen. Who would win more games, the Dodgers or the White Sox and Rockies combined? Now, think about it. We closed the Dodgers win total at 105.
Right.
The White Sox at 53.5, and the Rockies at 59.5. Okay? My math tells me that's 113 versus 105. In the market where these was we didn't offer this, but where I saw it offered, the Rockies White Sox combo was around minus 140 to 150. As of this morning, the Dodgers are on a pace to win 103. The White Sox are on a pace to win 33 games, and the Rockies are on a pace to win 29.
Oh, my.
Jensen, if I re-offered you this prop and gave you the White Sox and the Rockies at plus 180 against the Dodgers win total, would you take it?
Yeah, I think I'd have to. I mean, just on principle. God, I mean, that's amazing.
Unreal.
Okay, as a follow-up, I actually wanted to take St. Louis for the most losses because I thought they would be awful. I didn't realize that Colorado would be this bad to start. Mikey, I've seen bad baseball in my life. I don't know if I've seen it in back-to-back years to start a year, how bad both these teams. I mean, they are 9-37. The White Sox and Rockies combined, 9-30. You can't make it up. Like that to me, and I'd still do the show every morning, guys, with you 7 to 10. But that makes me want to be an opener. Come back, get the arm in shape. I can do that. I can go out and give a 6 ERA and make a couple million. Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you guys this then, because it's on draft day here, and it's hope springs eternal here for the NFL. We did see a change, obviously. Say Jaden Daniels last year, you get him 2 overall, and all of a sudden you're drafting 29 this year. Is it only the draft for the White Sox and the Rockies to eventually get out of the rut they're in, or do you have to throw money at the problem?
No, I don't think you can throw money at this problem. I think you have to develop your team. You're missing so many pieces at this point.
100%.
Right? Yeah, and I mean, like, these guys, you don't even. I've never heard. Like, I was looking at the White Sox roster. Like, half the bullpen, I had to go look them up who they were. Right. And so, but really for Colorado, the problem hasn't been the starting pitching. I mean, it's been halfway decent. They're not scoring any runs. I think this is the second lowest average runs per game since this franchise at 5. I think they had 1 year they were 4.94. So they just don't hit the ball at all.
You missing?
How about that?
The big cat.
29th.
Oh,
yeah.
Colorado.
29th in runs.
29th
in runs. They're 28th in home runs, guys. At that altitude, they should at least be in the top 20. But hey, You're right. Vinny Castilla, Andres Galarraga not walking through that door.
Dante Bichette. I mean, they've had bombers.
The myth of Coors.
Lake Street Bombers. What happened? Mike, great to have you back.
Thank you, guys.
Go easy on the coffees, will you? It's a lot of sugar in those things. We are back talking more NFL draft. Kansas City, you're on the clock. That's next year on VSiN By The Books.